Namaste, family of light. I want to talk about a very important topic that really affects each and every person on the planet. And even, quite frankly, those that are not physically in this physical reality, even those like our ancestors beyond astral plane and in other planes, but connected to this earth. And that is generational healing. So there's a lot going on right now, and part of our own generational healing is tied into the global healing. A lot of what you see out there right now is things that have been hidden or suppressed, okay, or have been delayed. All that is not in alignment with our higher ascension, a higher part of ourselves, which is unity consciousness, oneness consciousness, the idea that we're all connected, the foundation of that being love, love expressed as righteousness, as kindness, those higher frequencies in alignment with some would call the Christ consciousness, the Maitreya consciousness, but it all comes and stems and anchors in unconditional love. Well, all those parts of ourselves individually and collectively that is not in alignment with that is now coming up to the surface for us to see, for us to no longer ignore, or for us to have such an intuitive sense that something that needs to be adjusted, recalibrated to bring into a higher alignment, with this love is something that we are encouraged to do for our personal as well as our collective healing. So, generational healing is basically where patterns of tribals, patterns of lineage, okay, whether that's from a family unit, and that's where you see, for example, that certain patterns run in a family, generation after generation after generation, whether that's addiction, whether that's breaking up of relationships, where that sense of suicides, sense of abandonment, there's depression, there's many ways how this manifests itself. And if you go back into the lineage, you'll find, for example, that great great grandma, okay, who had this sense of abandonment, okay, in her life, can manifest that to great granddaughter, having a sense of abandonment, not knowing exactly why this is going on. Now, it has been proven scientifically that not only do we pass on our biology, our biological genes, but also our emotions, our proclivities to, whatever the emotional trauma might have happened in the past in our lineage, or whatever emotional empowerment that may have happened. These are also, okay, imprinted, because remember, we're not just a physical being, we're physical, mental, and emotional beings. So these are the parts of ourselves that tie us into our lineage, okay, have impact. The past impacts our future. And so it is important to look into the past. What patterns have been created? Good patterns are out there, that you have families, generation after generation, empowering, positive, uplifting, okay? But also, and for many of us, there are patterns that are more into the entropy, which means it pulls you down. You're not balanced. You don't feel in your higher alignment. And sometimes, no matter what you do, people go to therapy, they go to different healing modalities. Why am I feeling the way I am? Okay, if they look back, they will see that there is family in the past or ancestors, okay, of which we're connected to and they're connected to us, have these issues that need to be healed, that need to be resolved. So, in generational healing, what it is that if we are all connected as one, and we are connected and have passed on to us the genes and the experiences of our family, okay, our lineage, our tribal, all we have to do is look at the world and see what our ancestors have gone through in this creation. And just look at where we are presently right now. And so, this is an opportunity. We can no longer say we are victims. No, we are not coming from the victim mentality that says it's my parents that did this to me, because really you have to go on, how were your parents raised and how were your parents raised, and it goes all the way back. And in many lineages there has been, the oppressor and the oppressed. Okay, so we now have come to a point in our collective evolution that we can now address this. And many of us, particularly those that are listening to these words, sometimes it's one individual in a generation that's the one that's been called to change the pattern. And this is something that each and every one of us can do. So I'll give you an example. For my own family, I have become aware of a pattern, and actually, I am able to identify where that source pattern, at least in the immediate experience, it might have been further than that, but it had to do with my father's father. And this would have been in the early 1900s. Okay, he would have been born in the late 1800s, and so this would have taken place in the early 1900s. And at that time, okay, he left his wife for another woman. Now, that experience back then, if it's not that great now, it was really worse then, because it didn't have in the society at the time, okay, the kind of support systems for that. So choices had to be made where the family dispersed, okay, and the mother, okay, his wife, my father's mother, had to take the youngest child, and go to her family, where the other children that were only in their teens sort of had to fend for themselves. So we had a pattern here of abandonment issues, a pattern of things falling apart or breaking apart, making it on your own. Well, I have seen, and I'm old enough to have seen this exact pattern repeat itself in generations. So the grandchildren of these young children that, were young teenagers and had to find a way, okay, on their own, become really emancipated adults, the same thing happened for their grandchildren, where because of death of parents at a young age, they found themselves abandoned. And so they too, at very young ages, 14, 15, 16 years old, became emancipated minors and had to fend for themselves. There's also the patterns, of fathers and sons. And so what happened, I have become aware of this, and I had said, I feel that perhaps I can be the person which turns out to be the matriarch, and a fairly young matriarch, because a whole generation of people were gone. And so here's this branch of the family, okay, sort of not, anchored into anything. And so myself and another cousin decided, first, let's do a history, for these younger cousins of ours, for them to have a sense of who they are. But more importantly, let's bring forth this healing. And so that opportunity happened when there was a wedding of one of the young cousins. It was an opportunity for a lot of the family that have been fragmented to be in one place at the one time. I had asked if it's okay for us to do this generational healing because the reality was that a lot of those cousins were going through the same traumas, the same sense of abandonment, loneliness, the same energy that a generation one or two ahead of them went through. Well, we did this generational healing with very powerful prayers. Everybody agreed to do it, lit candles, and I will share with you for those who are listening to this. This was so powerful that actually I had a dream, and in this dream, before the generational healing ceremony we did, my father came to me, who has been deceased for many, many years, saying this is that our ancestors, wherever they are in the myriad of worlds, on the astral plane or beyond the astral plane, because we are all spiritually entangled, is that there is not complete and total, say, balance and peace in its highest level because the interconnection with us who are here on the earth. In fact, okay, there are many cultures that talk about where on the physical plane you will have issues coming up. It is a result of unrest of ancestors in the past, hoping that descendants can heal the family. And when we talk about a particular tribal or a particular family, that's part also of the human family. So for each of us that make the attempt to say, and how can you do this? I personally am going to be giving some classes on generational healing, a ceremony on generational healing. But really, one of the things you can do, it only takes one person to say, I want to bring healing to my family. I'm seeing that there's a pattern here. I'm experiencing things that I think are connected to my past. I would want to bring that healing. Guess what? You can be the one to initiate it. You can simply do this by yourself. You can have your altar. You can resonate with heal prayers that talk about healing, that talk about forgiveness, and really the cornerstone of all healing is forgiveness, is unconditional forgiveness. No judgment, just forgiveness and coming from a place of love and healing. That's what we can do. And you can do it in your own way. The idea is the intention of doing it. And the minute you put forth an intention of doing it, you are going to receive the support from the universe, from the divine synchronicities that come in for you to move into that. One of the key things about generational healing is one, healing yourself. Because if you heal yourself, you're also contributing to that tribal healing. You're also contributing to the human unconscious, okay, the human collective, okay, which is in great need of balance and healing. Wounds from the past, hurts from the past will continue to stay there until it is addressed and until it's brought up to the surface, recognized, and healed for a new pattern to go forward. So be on the lookout for information from the Cosmic Center Spiritual Light. We most certainly will have coming up in the near future some videos about it, opportunities to participate in some ceremonies, as well as having a group, a class together to work together for our own and collective healing for our ancestors. I know they will be very happy when we do that. So, with that, I will say, God bless. And here is our collective healing coming into balance once again. Namaste.